I was told to deliver this message. You think you're invincible because you got money, bombs, guns, and planes, killing babies, innocent people. I think you're insane. Chaos and destruction is the name of your game. Somebody's got to stop you before the whole world goes up in flames. So he told me to tell you, I'll fight
for my brothers. We can go to war. Fighting for my father, I will give my life for. I feel so alone in this white man's world. Whip it in the kitchen, watch that white turn pearl. Standing on the corner, standing on my phone. Standing with my gangsters, but I'm standing on my own. If you got to be alone, split you like you be alone. Sacrifice my life, understanding each his own. Toast to the keys of success. Bel Air rose on my breath. I've been a student since '03, and we can fight till we see peace.
I fight like that. 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 I fight like that.
Let me holler at you for a minute, give you game. Real scrappy, love the bottom, Buddha bang. Trigger happy, and everybody in the game. You shot your family and didn't even know it, man. Same rules, same code, with a different slang. Struck him out, and now they took him out the picture frame. Mama, don't cry, we gon' get by. 2 weeks later, got killed in a drive-by. Why must we fight amongst each other? Reach one, each one, teach one, my brother. I teach them how to fight on the grass and in the class. Snoop Dogg, all stars, yes sir, they coming fast. D1, football, we won. Now proud of my son, Lil Snoop, yes sir, cause he won. Right on, SC, fight on. We 100, keep it coming, dip, slip, slide on, light on.
I fight like that. 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 I fight like that.
Watching the warriors, the story of the rebels. You from the ghetto, did you know never to settle? I'm shooting common on the streets, I'm a pharaoh. Battling in African-American apparel. Fists on a t-shirt, youngins doing street work. Grinding till they teeth hurt, that's because they need work. Working till the feet hurt, trying to get my soul right. Used to be on old bikes, serving them that cold white. Wars in the winters, the block is hot in summers. Today's mathematics, we know it's strength in numbers. To the bosses and the runners, the hustlers and the stunners. We fight for the hundreds, we fight for the oneness.
He fights with the heat. He fights with the sleet. He said, I am who I am. I can't be beat. Nobody has won a war against me. I fight like that. 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 I fight. All of the nations of the earth as we speak are angry. They're angry because governments cannot suffice the needs of their people. They're angry because a few have gotten wealthy at the expense of the many, and the poor and the sick and the weak and the unlearned multiply. And the value of their lives are diminished by the rich and the powerful, so that when human life is devalued, that in the eyes of man you are unworthy of the gift of life, then it is easy for another human being to take the life of another human being that he or she has devalued. Black life in America is devalued. Hispanic life is devalued. Even poor white life is devalued. There's a way that I have to behave. I'm free, but I'm not free to rob you of yours. I'm not free to take from you what does not belong to me. So if I will construct my life according to these righteous principles, then between man and man, man and woman, peace. Between race and race, peace. Between rich and poor, peace. We have our beautiful Mexican family. This once was theirs. So you can't say to them they are aliens. That's a horrible word to use for former owners. I see my indigenous family here. Many tribes, but they're really one great nation of people that now must be reunited with themselves. So it's their time now, as well as ours, that God would intervene in our affairs and bring the bottom rail to the top. The government is not rehabilitating soldiers. When they send you away to kill. When you come home, they gotta reconstitute you for civilian life again. Make sure you have a job so you can take care of your family, but they're not doing it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, a woman can do anything that a man does, and the only thing he forbids the woman to do is the thing that degrades her. So how high can you go? High as you want to. Why would God allow the female to wear his attributes if you can't be a manifestation of that attribute? Women, you got to be set free. What God has put within you must be cultivated, must be developed, and must be used for the advancement of a nation and a world. I said to myself, Mr. President, why the hell don't you go to the wicked police department? Why the hell don't you stand up and tell them that your killing of black youth and brown youth is not gonna hold no more? Why don't you stand up? God's word is in need of a truth that will set up a government where everybody can live in peace, under real freedom, real justice, and real equality.
By the time I was 10 or 12, I just wished to God I was white, because they had food to eat, they didn't work, they had money, they had nice homes, and we would nearly freeze. We never did have food. We worked all the time and didn't have nothing.
We all lived on DeMarlo's plantation, and Fannie Lou worked on the DeMarlo's plantation. She worked there like 18 years.
The persons who worked on the plantations, the sharecroppers, could not leave on his or her free will. I call it neo-slavery because it was, in fact, slavery.
Miss Hamer, she was 44 years old and had never lived any place but on a plantation. And so she wanted to go. I mean, they were hostages, really. They couldn't leave without approval of the plantation owner. And they didn't get much money, so they didn't have a lot of money to run away with. All of what they had accumulated were taken away from them by an overseer, a white overseer on the plantation, who poisoned their mules and destroyed their crops and disabled their automobile. But Miss Hamer, she was a very determined person, and she had been trying all her life to get away from the plantation.
The direction of Fannie Lou Hamer's life changed in August 1962 when the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, held a public meeting in nearby Ruleville.
I can remember in 1962, this lady named Mary Tucker. She and my mom was best of friends. And she told my mom that they was having a mass meeting at William Chapel Church. And she asked my mom, did she want to come?
And they talked about, how it was our right that we could register and vote. And they was talking about we could vote out people that we didn't want in office. I'd never heard until 1962 that black people could register and vote.
And you can understand why. You got 70% of the population of the whole county black, and then you got nothing but white people in office.
So then they asked who would go down on Friday, which was the 31st, to try and register. So I went down. I was one of the person that said I would go.
And people were really nervous about this trip to try and register to vote, a hostile act directed at white supremacy.
I was on the bus, and everybody on there was afraid, even myself. White men in trucks were driving by, waving guns and yelling, sentences at us. And so these people on the bus were kind of upset, and Fannie Lou Hamer started to sing.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
She began to sing, This Little Light, and people calmed down and were ready to face whatever they had to face.
This little light of mine,
and just with the power of her voice, it was clear that she was easing the fear. Well, it didn't take long for the registrar and other people to shut down the circuit clerk's office where you went to register to vote. And so now people had to go back home.
When they was on their way back home, they got stopped by the highway patrol. And the reason they got stopped, highway patrol told them that the bus was too yellow. You riding a school bus, what other color's gonna be? Before she made it home, quite naturally, the registrar called DeMarlo and letting him know that Fannie Lou was down there trying to register to vote.
And the landowner drove up. He said, you will have to go down and withdraw your registration, or you will have to leave this place. And I didn't call myself saying nothing smart, but I couldn't understand it, and I answered in the only way I could and told him
that I didn't go down there to register for him. I went down there to register for myself.
And he said that, well, you'll have to go. And so he pulled away, and she went back into the house. And after she and her family met, had a little meeting to decide what they were going to do. She would leave her husband and her 2 daughters on the plantation, and that she would leave so that they could bring in the crop, so that they wouldn't owe the plantation owner any money.
Daddy took Mama to Miss Mary Tucker's house. On the 10th of September of 1962, my daddy felt some kind of way that Mama wasn't safe there. So we all got together, packed up some clothes, and he got my mom and took her to Sumner, Mississippi.
Mr. Hamer's premonition was accurate. That very night, the Tucker house was attacked.
The 10th of September is when they shot in that house 16 times, to kill me.
On the bus trip to register to vote, Mrs. Hamer had caught the eye of civil rights organizers who then wanted her to attend a SNCC conference in Nashville.
Bob Moses called me and told me to go and find a lady who did the singing on the bus. I found her up in Tallahatchie County in a little shack, plantation shack. And I walk into the room. There's this wing-back chair with the back to the door, and pot-belly stove, coal burning red. And I said, Bob Moses sent me to get Fannie Lou Hamer. And she stood up and said, I'm Fannie Lou Hamer. I mean, ready to go. I mean, didn't know if I was a kidnapper or what. Never thought about that.
She left with him, and that woman been traveling ever since.
Mrs. Hamer's presence at the 1962 SNCC conference in Nashville, where you could see for the first time, a local person from Mississippi reflecting exactly what you wanted to find in the rural South. It becomes clear we're dealing with somebody different. This is no submissive, docile, servile sharecropper. This is a woman of considerable strength.
When she stepped forward, I don't think anyone in SNCC realized how strong she was, and she may not have realized how strong she was.
And so Fannie Lou Hamer was just what we had been looking for, because she didn't wait around. I mean, she just got right to work continuously. We canvassing communities and encouraging people to go to the courthouse.
She said, because voting is your voice, to decide on who you want to represent you or who you want to be your president.
On June 9th, 1963, Fannie Lou Hamer was returning by bus from a voter registration conference in South Carolina.
They stopped in Winona, Mississippi. And some of them wanted to use the bathroom, some of them wanted to get food. But at the time, she was still on the bus. And when she did decide, she seen them running out of the place. And she stepped off to see what was going on. And somebody told her to get back on the bus. But this highway patrolman hollered at somebody else, told, get that one there, which was my mom. And they took him to jail.
And I was beaten in jail till my body was just hard as metal. I'm suffering now with a blood clot in the artery to the left eye and a permanent kidney injury on the right side. From the time that I began working, I never had a mind to stop. But after that happened to me in Winona, then I knew that it wouldn't be anything would stop me other than death.
In 1964, as a founder of the new Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, Fannie Lou Hamer ran for Congress.
Walked into the Secretary of State's office, and this white lady said, "What you niggas want?" Said, we looked at her, and then Miss Hamer said, "Well, I want to run for Congress." And so she's surprised. She looked at us, and then she go back in there. She says, "Hey, y'all." So there's two niggas out here say they want to run for Congress. 10, 15 eyes are now on us, you know. And so we started standing there. And so she come and put this pile of papers on the counter and said, "Fill these out." Fannie Lou and I go out into the corridor up there and fill out the papers, bring them back. She says, "Okay, this is okay, but you need a cashier check, $500 made out to the Democratic Party Executive Committee." So we go out into the corridor to the phone booth, call the COFO office in here, and tell them that we need $500. They said, "Don't move, stay there. Somebody will be there with the money." Okay. Sit around a while, then a guy shows up with the check. We take the check into the office, give it to the lady, and start to leave. She said, "Hold it." So there's one more step. Said at the time the candidate qualifies, the campaign manager has to sign these papers. And she said, "This is the last day to qualify. It's 4 o'clock. We're going to shut this down at 4:30. And if you don't get this all in today, you're out of luck. You won't be able to run." Fannie Lou Hamer looked at me and she said, "Mac, go in there and put your name on them papers and let's go home." I said, "Oh, Miss Hamer, come on now. You know, I don't know nothing in the world about being a campaign manager." She said, "Mac, you know as much about being a campaign manager as I know about running for Congress. Put your name on the papers and let's go home."
In August 1964, Mrs. Hamer was a member of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party's delegation to the Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City.
Everybody knew that the state of Mississippi discriminated against black people, denied black people the right to vote. Everybody in the Democratic Party knew that the Democratic Party of Mississippi was an all-white and white supremacist party. They weren't even loyal to the Democratic Party. They came to the Democratic Party's convention supporting Barry Goldwater, the Republican.
And they weren't registering really any black folks, really, because we were carrying hundreds of people. We carried over 1,000 people down there to make that application to register to vote. The right to vote was our whole reason for this. But we had to now, since we wasn't getting any place in Mississippi, we needed to now make the National Democratic Party put pressure on the local delegation to be Democratic. Our challenge before the Credentials Committee was to try to deny the credentials to the regular Democratic Party.
Mrs. Hamer spoke before the Credentials Committee in 1964 in Atlantic City to let the Credentials Committee know that the integrated delegation should be seated as opposed to the old white guard. But Mrs. Hamer was chosen to speak because of the fire that was in her spirit, because of her articulation, and really because of her eyes.
It wasn't too long before 3 white men came to my cell. One of these men was a state highway patrolman. And he said, "We're going to make you wish you was dead."
When you looked into Mrs. Hamer's eyes, you knew she meant business. You knew that she had been through a lot, and just her very presence commanded respect.
I was carried out of that cell into another cell where they had 2 Negro prisoners. The state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro to take the blackjack. The first Negro began to beat. And I was beat by the first Negro until he was exhausted.
I was told that there were people on the Credentials Committee in tears when they listened to Mrs. Hamer tell her story.
After the first Negro had beat until he was exhausted, the state highway patrolman ordered the second Negro to take the blackjack. The second Negro began to beat and I began to work my feet. And the state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro had beat to sit on my feet. To keep me from working my feet, I began to scream and one white man got up and began to beat me in my head and tell me to hush. All of this is on account of we want to register to become first-class citizens. And if the Freedom Democratic Party is not seated now, I question America. Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, where we have to sleep with our telephones off of the hook because our lives be threatened daily, because we want to live as decent human beings in America? Thank you.
We thought we had the case won. We thought that we had come here and we were going to get the National Democratic Party to say, okay.
With Mrs. Hamer's testimony at that moment, without knowing, the kind of arm twisting that was going on in the background, the kind of threats being made by the White House, Lyndon Johnson's White House, it seemed as if, to me, there would be an actual vote permitted on whether or not to seat the MFDP. And my feeling was that if you got that vote, a majority of the convention would vote to seat the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party.
But behind the scenes, President Johnson and party leaders had no intention of allowing a vote by the full convention. Instead, they offered a compromise, allowing 2 members of the Mississippi Freedom Democrats to be recognized as delegates at large.
So they offered us that, what they call a compromise of 2 seats at large, really representing nobody. Some are wanting to accept the compromise, and most of the SNCC people are saying no, and they take us off into a little meeting where separating us to try to persuade us to accept this compromise. And so, and then Mrs. Hamer standing up and, just saying, we shouldn't do this. We are not going to do this. And then all of us, the delegates, vote with her.
So although at one level the challenge failed, that is to say that the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party was not seated, at another level, you have to acknowledge that the challenge changed the Democratic Party and in a sense changed the face of Democratic Party politics in the United States.
Shortly after the convention, Fannie Lou Hamer joined fellow SNCC activists on a trip to Africa.
She became really proud and more of statesman-like. I think when she saw these African people and the way the leadership there, and she just kind of this lifted her.
It was just remarkable. I saw some of the most intelligent people, people, because I had never in my life seen, where Black people running banks. I'd never seen nobody, behind a counter in the bank. I had never seen nobody Black running the government in my life. So it was quite a revelation to me. It was because I was really learning something for the first time. Because then I could feel myself never ever being ashamed of my ancestors and my background.
After the 1964 elections, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party challenged the legitimacy of Mississippi's congressional delegation. Fannie Lou Hamer was one of 3 women who traveled to Washington to oppose the seating of 5 Mississippi congressmen.
For the opening vote, the black ladies are asked to stand, and they gave them a seat finally, in the back of the U.S. House of Representatives.
And that challenge allowed Fannie Lou Hamer, Victoria Gray, and Annie Devine to be the first black women to be seated on the House floor while the challenge was heard.
Despite her role in the national civil rights movement, Fannie Lou Hamer remained active in her local community.
She starts doing the most practical kinds of things and telling people, plant tomatoes. We're hungry. Plant beans, plant okra.
You know, back then people didn't have food. Halftime didn't have clothes. And when she would go to different areas up north, she would tell them that, you know, people down here in the South, they needed clothes, they needed food. And they would send boxes and boxes and boxes of clothes. Our front porch would be stacked up with boxes, with clothes.
I watched this lady sit out in her front yard and peel peaches and pears and put them up in jars and give them away.
We just thought, if we had land to grow some stuff on, then it would be a help to us. Because living on the farm on some plantation, they still don't give you a place to grow stuff. So we founded Freedom Farms in 1969, and we grew our own vegetables, like butter beans, peas, okra, potatoes, peanuts, and then cash crop. The plan of the thing is that it can grow to produce enough that people just won't know what hunger is.
She had a component of that Freedom Farm called a pig bank, where she was able, through the National Council of Negro Women, to accumulate some pigs. If a family came in and they were willing to take a piglet and raise this piglet, and then when this piglet got grown and had pigs, they would bring a piglet back to the bank to replenish the bank so that she could give more people.
Mrs. Hamer looked out for Ruleville, for Sunflower County, and she shared whatever earnings she received so often with people in the community.
She would buy lots so their house could be built on that lot.
She believed that a family ought to have a house, they ought to have education, and they ought to have food and a job.
I couldn't just afford to sit down and not do nothing. And I know something out there is happening, and I know I can say something, say, this is not right, and I'm gonna get out here and we're gonna do something about it.
Indigenous leadership, part of them. And you think about a person running for Congress sitting out in the yard shelling peas.
She was able to encourage us to keep on moving. She was able to inspire and encourage us from her own physical pain.
And she will go down in history as one of the greatest folk leaders that this country has ever produced.
She was an awesome person. Whether she was cooking, whether she was singing, or whether she was trying to get somebody to go to the polls and register. But whatever she did her part. And I say this, she was an awesome woman. I loved her. I still love her. I miss her. Can't get no better than that.
Fannie Lou Hamer died on March 14, 1977. She was 59 years old. Her good friend Charles McLaurin arranged for her burial on land she owned.
The reason she's buried where she's buried is that a few days before she passed away, and I went to visit her, and she said, Mac, promise me I will not be buried on a plantation. I've been on a plantation all my life, and I don't want to be buried. We have a commitment to keep her legacy alive. The statue was one way that she'd always be standing tall in the Delta. We set it up as high as it's setting so that people who come to the statue will be looking up at her.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Wow. 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 Morning. Ready for Revolution. Happy Monday to all of you. Brother Eric Teray Muhammad here. Wow. Boy. Sister Fannie Lou Hamer was loved by Dr. King. She was loved by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. She was loved by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X. She was loved by Stokely Carmichael, my father, Kwame Ture. And the reason for the love is obvious. That was probably one of the most succinct biopics that I'd ever seen. But she was known as the Mary of the collective Jesus. Jesus means by definition, justifier of God's presence. And her once being slave, raised on a plantation, knowing there was more to herself than life had shown, knowing that she had a cause, a mission, a purpose, and all she did was answer the voice. And she walked off that plantation. She answered the voice of her colleagues sitting at a belly pot stove looking for Fannie Lou Hamer. She stood up, said, I'm Fannie Lou Hamer, and just walked on. You understand there's power in recognizing and honoring and respecting your calling. She wasn't one looking to become an activist. She wasn't trying to become a politician. She wasn't trying to become a mother, become a wife, become a sister, become a freedom fighter, become a human being. She was that. Her whole being spoke to being and living in her presence. Thus, be the business. That's our discussion. Today, we're going to look to be the business. So may God be pleased with the life and the legacy of that phenomenal woman. And she represents a lot of all that we represent in society and we represent as wealth builders. And it's just really the truth of the matter.
So I'm grateful for that life and that example. You got to see the power of technology, folks. You have to see what we're afforded to revisit, to relive, to document, to share. You know, we have to, be the business. And I chose that because the business is bigger than gold. The business is bigger than making money. The business is bigger than all that is happening out here in society right now, because the business is about our tasks as humans to be about the business of changing a world and changing a humanity. So that was pretty extended. I hope that you all found some value in it. But let's get about the business. Have you paid yourself first? You're going to thank yourself for doing it, because you're going to recognize the power in the appreciation from a world thanking you. Always remember this, that who you are today, there's another person waiting inside of you to take stage. It might be a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. But when that person comes to stage, that person can't come picking up where you should have left off. They need to be able to walk into a lockstep, healthy, mind healthy, spirit healthy, and to enjoy and bask in the freedom that all of us as children of abundance rightfully deserve. 10:45, we have the power call, 10:45 Eastern. I believe this will be Mr. Dalco today. And then we have the noon presentation, I believe, from Dr. Hollins, Rhonda Hollins. And of course, 9 p.m. we have our presentations. All of it is happening on www.goldrocks.info. The way to change the nature of our experiences is to change the nature of our thoughts, thus the business. And tonight on Kafani Radio at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., Abundance is Your Birthright with Sister Keturah Bryan and Sister Hafiza Touré. Their special guest is Brother Kenneth Harrison, one of the foremost legal minds on the planet. I think he's coming out of DC today. But he'll be offering protection. When I say protection, how you can shore up the legacy of your home financially and so forth. So he drops a lot of different jewels. He assists a lot of wealth builders. He assists many of my business partners in my direct organization. And I think many of you may find value in that presentation. And I love Brother Carlito's, well, I love the beard too, but Brother Carlito's logo or moniker here says Kafani Radio, excuses. Check this out. It says excuses don't build empires. What's the size of your dream? And okay, also the Zoom meeting ID has been given by the Wealth Builders Leadership. It'll be this Friday, June 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's the WBW testimony. What has Karabars done for me? You know, some typos in there. Just forgive me. I was doing that and watching Sister Hamer. What has Karabars done for me? See and hear the testimony from all of your fellow wealth builders who join this stream. Moderated by Wealth Builders Worldwide Leadership. This will be Friday, June 19th, 2020 at 7 p.m. This is where you want to bring everybody, folks. You want everybody on that platform. The meeting ID is 648-293-361. Once again, the meeting ID is 648-293-361. Okay, so be sure to pass that information on to your teams, your organizations, your friends. Now, the qualification to speak and express what Karabars has done for you on that day, you must be willing to get in front of your camera. You must be willing to raise your voice. You must be willing to be seen. That is the requirement from the leadership, and I hope all of you pay attention to that. So that's Friday, June 19th, 2020, 7 p.m. Eastern, and the meeting ID is 648-293-361. Okay, so be the business. All right, wealth builders, we are our business. And what is our business? We are Karatbars International. We're an e-commerce company. We're in 149 countries. Our product is gold and our business is the people. We are in the people building business. Okay, we are in business. It's not something we're growing to be. It's not something we're looking to become. We are the business. So own it. How do we own it? We open our free gold savings account, right? We open our savings account and we save in gold. We open our savings account, we save in gold, and we encourage others to do the same. Why? Because your net worth is based on your net work. You build your network, you'll have your net worth. Your residual income will be so astounding with persistence and consistency and duplication. You'll be handsomely rewarded weekly as well as monthly. There's no mandatory cost. Everything is optional, and there's no cost to register. It is just as free as the opportunity because, like Sister Cece says, we are the business. Now, it all begins with a decision. Dream and believe. That's a decision. You have to dream and believe. You have to select and be selective of where you get your advice from. So, you know, growing up as a working class or a middle class people, we are trained into a behavior. So that trained behavior only makes us to pay attention to those things that feed the training and benefit the trainer. So today we have to revise who we are around, what we see, what we learn, what we do. We have media, we have reading, television, movies, games, we have computers, we have all kind of stuff, but these things should be utilized to train our mind into personal development so that we shore ourselves up with the opportunity to maximize being the business. It's a decision. Okay. And so what does this do? Your personal development, what does it do for you? It results in what I call RCA. The building, your business, it protects you. Your personal development rather protects you, the business, against the ridicule you receive. That's your R. It protects you against the condemnation when you stay the course. That's the C. And it positions you for the acceptance. That's the A. Because what's going to happen is, as we persevere, as we rally around and focus along the things that we must focus upon in our business, being the business, then what happens is we grow in the opportunity. And when the world embraces it, not if, when the world embraces it, they'll accept you as the business. Got it? So there are 3 must-dos in this. Do number 1, never, and I mean never take the advice of the quitter or the pretender. Never take the advice of the quitter or the pretender. Immerse you, the business, in the success system. In this manner, the success system and the success in the system is found in Wealth Builders Worldwide. We're the culture. We're the glue. We're the bond. We're the cement between the bricks that hold it together. We are the wall that marries on the dream, the vehicle, and brings it on to reality. Because the culture that we teach is one that fortifies us, strengthens us, helps us to create victories with under our own roof. And stage after stage, we grow in victories and grow in perfection. And then what happens? We share it with people, and people will literally, they won't be able to wait to hear a voice of not just reason, but a voice that reflects the change and the business that they purport. So get away from taking the advice of the quitter or the pretender. Somebody comes by, fly by night, they dress nice, smell nice, they wear nice bling, and then they get your money and you don't see them no more. Look at the power of what you have. Nobody in Karatbars, not even the founder, Dr. Harold Constantine Sykes, nobody takes your money. You exchange and build upon what you exchange. You leverage the economy under your home. You stretch the power or give power to the cash, and you can do the things that need to be done in your home. And nobody takes your money. There's no fly-by-night situation here. This is a formula that will build for you. Number 2, be your decision. You're the business, show and prove. You're the business, stake your claim in the earth. You're the business, declare who and what you are. When we had our live events and people ask me, how are you, brother? I tell them I'm rich. That's a claim. That's a declaration. That's a statement of fact. And what happens when you state it? You will it. What happens when you state it? You attract it. What happens when you live it? It's drawn to you. Number 3, lose the working middle class mentality. Govern you, the business, by calculation. By calculation. Remember the famous Wealth Builder CD from Brother Alan Austin, Mr. Ty Best, Sister, she's on the West Coast. Oh, she's brilliant. She and her son, but they're on the CD. Emotions. It's not emotion, just math. Emotion versus math. I wanted us to do a little calculation here because, you know, our leadership always talked to us about being Sheila Abrams. Thank you, Sister Anastasia. Sheila Abrams. We're always taught that we're millionaires by choice. Some of us are millionaires by accident. We sort of fell into it. You can fall into being wealthy. You can fall into being rich, but you can't fall into being successful. Your business can't be successful by accident. You have to put in work. So lose the working middle class mentality, govern you, the business, by calculation. Let's do a little math. This is millionaire math. You ready? Let me see if I can highlight some things here for us. And I'm trying to move as quick as we can, but there was a reason why I felt compelled to show that presentation of Fannie Lou Hamer, because it speaks volumes to where we are, particularly today. Okay, now millionaire math. Millionaire math is, these are different scenarios that I chose that can show you over a course of a year how you can be a millionaire. So there's the traditional route that people take, you know, low income earners, $25,000 a year at 40 years, that's $1 million. 50,000 K for 20 years, that's $1 million. 100,000 a year for 10 years, that's $1 million. 250,000 for 4 years, that's $1 million. Now, wealth builders. Our business is developed from leverage and exponential growth. So what happens when 5,000 people buy a $200 product? What happens when 2,000 people buy a $500 product? Those two scenarios are $1 million scenarios. What happens when 10,000 people buy a $100 product? What happens when 1,000 people buy a $1,000 product? You see, it's math. Okay, 5,000 people pay $17 per month for 12 months. That's $1 million. Cece Mahone broke this down one day for me, blew my mind, and she didn't know she did it. We were talking about getting people to auto save a gram of gold a month. And she said, some people just can't see it. And then she talked about breaking down cash gold. She said, do you know that if you can it can pay your $7 a week. You have I'm sorry, was it 3 grams a week? I forgot the scenario, but it blew my mind about how it builds and it gives you what you want at the end of the month. You have a little more than a gram of gold on the month. I was like, wow. And then I thought about it and started doing these numbers. Do you know 5,000 people give $17 in cash gold towards themselves? That's $1 million in 12 months. Some of you have 5,000 people in your downline right now. 2,000 people pay $42 a month. That's $1 million. 1,000 people pay $83 a month. That's $1 million. 500 people pay $167 a month. That's $1 million. 300 people pay $278 per month. That's $1 million in 1 year. Look, if you just did the last 10 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that will give you $10 million a year. Nobody's better positioned than the wealth builder because we can do all that from home. We can all do it from the phone. We create our incomes. And this is why let me say this way. This is why, folks, that when you abandon the mentality of the working middle class, you abandon the security blanket of wages. See, you earn a wage, you earn a living. You earn a profit, you earn a fortune. You see? And so in legacy building, you know you cannot build a legacy off of wage. Legacies are built off of that which you can sustain and control. And in this opportunity, we have full autonomy, full control, because we are the business. Okay? Let me move just a little further. I hope y'all all right what I'm sharing with you. It's going to be quick. You know, I got to move on to catch the jewels and nuggets that'll be dropped in the remainder of this day. So, you the business, there's a process. Point 1, remember you are the business. You are not starting a business. You are not creating a business. You may add to you the business, but you are the business. So point 2, you build the business, not a job. See, part of the middle class, wealthy class mentality, not wealthy, middle class, working class mentality that we have to divorce ourselves from is being dependent on something that's scheduled. This idea of having something to fall back on, that's almost sinful to the entrepreneur. You know, almost I say, because in the proper mindset, you understand that paying yourself first is the fallback. But to make sure you have a 25, 30 hour, 40 hour week job is not a fallback. It's an excuse. It's a road to shortcut, circumvent, or even fail your dream approach. So you build the business. When you talk with people, when you go after people with the opportunity, you're going after them with the opportunity. Why? Because you're growing them and it will reward you. And when you go after them, what are they doing? They're duplicating what you've done. They're duplicating getting an account. They duplicated saving in gold. They may even duplicate acquiring a package. But there's another duplication that has to take place. It's your willingness to serve. Your business must be seen as the servant leader it's created to be. And when that is duplicated, then you have successfully created and duplicated leaders and not just affiliates. You have duplicated leaders, and then those leaders now will create other leaders. Instead of you wondering, where did they go? How did they fall off? Why aren't they busy? And then you go out there trying to find affiliates out of desperation because you didn't follow the process, the system that rewards you when you embrace it wholly and completely. Number 3, increase your income. Now, money seems to flow to those who give it the most attention and take the most responsibility for it. Money seems to flow to those who gives it the most attention and take the most responsibility for it. I'm not talking about wearing the burden of the debt and the anxiety that they cause. That's real. What I'm speaking toward is that when you have your mind set to attract the power and the leverage and the attention of money, money will come to you. Of course, you got to know what money is. Money's gold. All right. And you're willing to be responsible with it by how? Paying yourself first, setting up your emergency fund, setting up your dream fund, taking care of your utilities, handling your charitable efforts. Those are the things that build the wealth in a nutshell. Point 4. Okay. Once you have done the math and realize how real it is to be the millionaire by choice, you, the business, must now focus on developing and or increasing your cash flow income. Just simply set targets. Simply set targets. What are we asked to do in Wealth Builders when we follow the map? What's the first thing we do? Someone type it in. What's the first thing we do when we follow the map? What do we make? Come on, come on, come on. I know you know. You go to mywbw.net. You're looking over the map, massive action plan. What's the first thing you're required to do to start you on the road of success? You acquire gold. Yes, Brother Danny. We're in the map. That's right, Sister CC, list. That's right, Brother Maurice, list. That's right, Brother JP, list. That's right, Mark Hammonds, list. Leonard Johnson Spence, list. Pay ourselves first. That's right, Debbie Nixon. List, 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 list. You make your list. How do you make your list? If we pay attention to what Mr. Murray gives us in that 5 and 5 training, you'll realize that the ultimate goal of your list is to get the money. Get the money, meaning get the cash flow going. So your list should always ask the question as you approach it, who's got my money? Why? Because it's my business. I'm the business. How do I get paid? If you spend all your time with people who can't pay, you will end up being someone who can't pay. If you, the business, if you spend all your time with people who cannot pay, you, the business, will end up being someone who can't pay. That is not the duplication you seek. It's about building a list of substance. So when Mr. Murray takes us past the introductory course of wealth building and making our list, that's a process. Then we learn how to sort. Now, here's the ultimate sort. You go to your list and you say, who's got my money? How do you think I was able to devise the $20,000 budget? I devised it because I looked in my organization of 2,000 plus people and said, who's got my money? It's their money too. And what did I begin to do? I began to talk to them about the power of this opportunity as a customer or as an affiliate. And I talked to them about saving gold. Just save. Can you save a gram a month? Can you save a gram a week? What are your goals? What did you think about when you joined this opportunity? What was on your mind? We came in to save gold. So did decide you didn't want to do it any longer, or what was the scenario? What was it? You interview your downline, and then you help them get on the course of saving gold. Why? I just showed you in the other diagram there. If 5,000 people save $17 per month for 12 months, that's $1 million. I don't have to go out there running around with commission bread trying to get a package sold or things like that. The packages are really for those who are new, who are coming to this opportunity. But for the thousands and thousands of people that are here, help them see the bedrock of the opportunity, and you be wealthy in 6 months. So you have the list, but your list approach has to be one of service. So you approach it with service by understanding who got your money. What business are you in? Why do you call it a dual system? Because there's two businesses attached to the dual system. Your savings can be your business. And when people save a gram of gold a month, or 1/10 of a gram of gold a month, however it goes, if you built your team, this is what happens. Your monthly commission will take care of all of your next month's expenses. And the weekly commission can take care of the things you like to do. Dual commission. Why is everything created in twos? Because it takes two to duplicate. So who's got my money? This is the must-ask question, and very few businesses, you the business, very few of us even ask it. We don't ask it. We get caught up in the service of it, the joy and the glamour to it. But isn't it more glamorous? Isn't it more rewarding? Isn't it more enlightening and engaging when you have the money that comes with it? You have it, but you haven't tilled that soil. Sister Fannie Lou said, I'm hungry. The people are hungry. Grow some tomatoes, shell some peas, get you some piglets. You see, build on your territory, build your business. Make a list of who has you, the business, who has your money, and exchange with them. Well, what do I have to exchange with them? What do you have to exchange with them? You exchange the idea and the process that's duplicatable. You exchange with them. Look, I understand exactly what you're saying, Sister Sally. What I did when I first started, I couldn't get a package right away. What I did, I just saved enough cash gold until I was able to acquire one. You exchange the idea and show them the power of what they have in their homes. You know it for a fact, just from many of you who are enrolled in the 90-day run to wealth. You know, the very first thing we did was identify the frivolous spending, create the surplus in our home, and save it in cash gold. That was the first week. And look how many of you came back with so many victories to declare. You see? Don't you think your downline wants the same victories in their life? Don't you think that customer or affiliate wants the same victories in their life? If you're not the one to go out and go after new people for whatever reason, that's okay. That's fine, because there's no obligation here. You're not obligated to do that. But the people that you have under your charge, you have a charge. Share it with them. Exchange. There's freedom, as Professor Greg McKay says, in the exchange. Okay. So we're wrapping this up. I really appreciate the time that you have given today, this Monday. It's a joyous Monday in many respects, but understand there's a lot going on in society today, and society is showing us. I never thought I'd see 1 million people come out in Germany protesting what happened in the United States over George Floyd. I never, when I say million, it was really tens of thousands, they say. There were 1 million people that came out in Paris the day before. People are all over the world coming out. My family and I were downtown Atlanta. We were down there in the demonstration on the Capitol for Kendrick Johnson, a young brother who was killed in Valdosta, Georgia. He was rolled up in a gym mat and left there for dead for days. And then they tried to tell everybody he did it to himself. Not only that, when they found him, the autopsy found that his organs were missing. He was stuffed with newspaper. He was an athlete. He was a basketball star there. He was a wrestler. This stuff is serious. While we're down there, just hours before, Rayshard Brooks, right up the block, was killed. And just after we left there, the city of Atlanta erupted. Fires broke out. Listen, there is no going back to what was. But what we have in our hands has everything to do with what is and what can be for the new normal and for the new world. We have a responsibility in it. I'm not saying your responsibility is to go out there to grab a picket sign. I'm not saying your responsibility is to protest. I'm not saying that your responsibility is to go out there and point fingers and share blame. What I'm saying is there's a new world coming after that. How are we shaping that world? We shape it by providing the vehicle that will allow us to facilitate and finance that new world. What has always historically determined the political force, determined the educational system, determined everything was determined by whoever controlled the purse string. There's no greater purse string holder now than the ones who have the gold. So as we fortify ourselves in understanding being the business, then when the time comes, we can take care of business. Did you hear how Fannie Lou Hamer ran for Congress? She ran for Congress and they took her through all the hurdles by degrees. And then they said, you need to have $500. There were no cell phones. There were no text messaging. Went to the car, told somebody, someone told someone else, someone called somebody else, and they said, wait right there. And it came right on in, everything they needed. You see the power what you have today with the advance of technology, you can wield the same kind of realities for yourselves. So yes, voting has its place, but voting has been corrupted as a machine. How do we redirect that machine? We can do it if that's our pursuit. We can create coexistence peacefully with nations and people if we have the means by which to leverage people where they don't feel that one is taking advantage of the other. Only in Wealth Builders do we have that opportunity right now. And it's our hour. So I share that with you. So remember June 19th, 2020, 7 p.m. 648-293-361 is the meeting ID for the Zoom presentation, the WBW testimony, 648-293-361. That's June 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, stay plugged in, get plugged in, share the opportunity with everyone. Help them to understand the power of what you have, what we represent, and we're only a reflection of them, but we're a greater reflection of each other when we're in unity. Peace and power, family. I will see us all. You know, I'm trying to catch Lakeisha. She might be gone, but I'll do the replay. I'm going to get over to Brother Kansu, Hotep Atom, and then I'm going to jump onto the power call, and then I'm going to jump on the presentation today. Got a pretty full day, a busy day. There's some people, Sister Demawa, you included, who have asked me to find people who are caravanning up to the Juneteenth in Tulsa. I'm doing all that I can to find out from whoever might know. I don't know directly, but I am on it. Peace and power, family. I appreciate all of you. Sorry I couldn't give out the great shout outs that I normally do because I love you all that much and I always want to. But freedom is what it's all about. Peace and power. See you shortly.
Peace. Strong words. Love. Soul. And change. Yeah. This is Big Snoop Dogg. Coming at you live and direct. And I got something to say. You did?
Let's change the world, divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world, no fights, no wars, oh let's learn to love again. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar. I do this with no hesitation. Meet me at the reservation. Elevating, educating, meditating, concentrating. Replenish ya, finish ya, opposite of sinister. And I do it for the minister.
Let's change the world, divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world, no fights, no wars, so let's learn to love again. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Somebody need to stop the war. Man, the war ain't overseas, it's at your front door. And I done seen too many brothers shot up on the floor for more than drugs and some colors. And now you call us warlords. But if you can help it, then help it. But you ain't helping us. You so selfish and selfless, you wanna see us breathless and helpless. But I'ma hustle and tussle for all my brothers who struggle. Yeah, we bang the world. Now let's change the world.
Let's change the world, divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world, no fights, no wars, oh let's learn to love again. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
No killing, no shooting, no dying, no lying, no gang banging, so no more mamas crying. Everybody get along, man, that be the perfect song. Peace in the streets as I sit back on my phone, chilling with the president. He let me in the White House, back to the castle with the minister, no doubt. Shoes at the front door, love is what you come for. Let's get it right and unite, but do it front
Let's change the world, divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world, no fights, no wars, so let's learn to love again. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.